Welcome back to In Focus SoCal. The 119th Congress is the most racially and ethnically diverse in history. Overall, 139 of the 533 voting members of the Senate and House identify as Black, Hispanic, Asian American, or Native American. Congressman David Min is the first Korean American to represent Irvine. Approximately 44% of the city's residents identify as Asian. Min served in the California Senate from 2020 to 2024 and also worked as a law professor at UC Irvine before entering public service. A graduate of Harvard Law School, Congressman Min began his law career prosecuting Wall Street fraud at the Securities and Exchange Commission, where he served as an enforcement attorney. He joins me now from Irvine. So good to have you on In Focus SoCal today, Congressman.
Thanks so much for having me, Tanya.
You're the first Korean American to represent Irvine in Congress, and you grew up in an immigrant family. How does your upbringing play a part in how you champion issues affecting the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities here in California?
I think first and foremost, as an Asian American myself, I'm cognizant of the many challenges we're facing in this country, in our communities. And so I think I'm very attuned to the issues when they're brought to my attention and very inclined to try to act on them. So, of course, I was one of the earliest and most vocal in this California state legislature on standing up against anti-Asian hate. I have tried to advance the ball on some of the issues that Asian Americans face. At the same time, growing up as an Asian American at a time and place in California when we didn't have a lot of Asian Americans, I think I also developed a strong sense of empathy for those who feel challenged, who feel like they're being bullied or marginalized. And so my strong instinct is always to try to stand up for the vulnerable and marginalized communities out there. And then finally, because forgetting the Asian American part for a moment, just as someone whose parents made that decision to come to the United States, I am a new American. And when I think of new Americans, I think of people who either are immigrants, the children of immigrants like myself, or the grandchildren of immigrants. Someone in their family tree made that decision to come to the United States very recently. I think for those of us who are new Americans, we are very attuned to and believe strongly in the promise of America and the values it has always represented.
You serve on several committees, including the Joint Economic Committee, House Oversight Committee, and House Natural Resources Committee. The first bill you introduced is the Aquatic Biodiversity Preservation Act. Can you explain how this bill will protect at-risk marine species while combating climate change?
Yeah, so the amazing thing about science is it is just so advanced now in so many ways that, average people don't even know what some of the things we can do are. But what my bill does is authorize the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, to collect data on at-risk aquatic species. And they can do this by sampling ocean water. And they can then find the DNA and genetic materials that are residual in this water. And this is stuff that I didn't even know could happen. And they can then just figure out the rates and sort of vigor of different species out there. And through that, they can kind of figure out which oceanic or marine coastal species are at risk of extinction. And that gives us a better roadmap in understanding what we need to do to protect those species that are at risk of extinction. And a lot of people don't realize this, but we are facing right now a mass extinction crisis, both on the land and in the sea. And if we don't start to turn things around, it's going to have catastrophic impacts on our communities, on our ecosystems. And as someone who represents a beautiful coastline, Laguna Beach, Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, and Seal Beach. This is very important for me. It's important for my constituents. It's important for our local economy, which is so dependent on tourism, on coastal recreation. So this is common sense legislation. I believe it'll be bipartisan to try to protect biodiversity in our marine ecosystems.
You've been hosting town halls and recently launched a virtual portal for your constituents to communicate the concerns they have. What are some of the top issues you're addressing and hearing this year?
And again, if you flash back to last year, when I was in the state Senate, what I hear from my constituents was How can we turn the tide on climate change? How can we protect our young people from gun violence? How can we deal with mental health issues? How can we improve our economy? Normal time issues. But right now, the number one issue far and away, and you're hearing this around the country, when I talk to my colleagues, this is the same across the board. It's around democracy, the rule of law, and just standing up for our democratic institutions right now, including the Constitution of the United States. That is, again, the number one thing we hear about. And it takes shape in a lot of different forms. When you saw Elon Musk and Doge illegally trying to cut spending that Congress had authorized to eliminate programs that Congress had created, of course, we were hearing a lot from people about the unconstitutionality and the illegality of those actions when Donald Trump and ICE were taking green card holders off the streets, deporting citizens of the United States, including children with cancer, when they were sweeping up undocumented immigrants, allegedly undocumented, and sending them to slave prisons in El Salvador. We were hearing all about that at the time and how illegal and unconstitutional it is. The attacks on the judges and courts, the attacks on the law firms. Again, all of this is illegal and unconstitutional. But whenever Donald Trump or Elon Musk or Pam Bondi or anybody else in this administration breaks the law, threatens our democratic institutions, we hear about that nonstop from constituents, whether it's through phone calls or emails or letters. So again, the rule of law and the Constitution are the number one issue that we're hearing about right now.
This year marks the 80th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japan's colonial rule in 1945, as well as the 75th anniversary of the start of the Korean War. You co-sponsored the Peace Across the Korean Peninsula Act. Break down how this bill will help bring a formal end to the Korean War.
So people don't realize this, but North and South Korea are technically still at war from that 1950s war, the Korean War, and that has never ended. That state has never ended. So what this bill does is call for a formal end to the Korean War and calls on the State Department to review its roadmap for achieving peace between North and South Korea. And these are one people. My parents, my mom, her family actually fled the North Koreans when the communists took over. My dad grew up in South Korea. And so we're literally talking about families being torn apart for many, many years. And so I think we need to start moving forward to some kind of formal peace state. And look, we've seen the difference right now between a fascist, authoritarian communist state and a free democratic state, because North Korea right now is one of the poorest countries in the world. Its people barely survive, while South Korea is a thriving, wealthy, advanced capitalist society. I recently had the chance just a few weeks ago to go to Korea on a congressional delegation. I went to the DMZ to see the state of the North Korean soldiers, to see kind of the state of potential conflict that's so close to happening all the time. Between the two countries, it is very frightening, and we need to kind of stabilize that. And so I hope that our bill will be a first step in that process.
Thank you so much for your time today, Congressman Min. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me, and look forward to meeting you in person.